So here we are, day 2 of the build, and we're doing a test of our fans and stuff. The only ones we don't have set up are the ones for the radiator up here because they're using a CPU fan header adapter, which is a 4-pin, and all the other fans are 3-pin PWM. So to test these, I'll have to wait until the motherboard's actually in. But the other fans and the hue controls are working. So we come down here. There's a self-test on here. Hit the thing, and the lights come on. Got hue up there. Hit it again because it doesn't last very long. And more over there. The fans down there is working, and the one up front is working. I don't know if we can see it. There it is, it's going. And it lights up red too. So fans and stuff are working. Got it open on its case. These are aluminum shields painted up nice. It's kind of a chrome red look to them, which I really dig. Whether it's flimsy, this is kind of flimsy over here, but actually they've reinforced it again from some other reviewers' comments about it. But 5 PCIe slots, room for an M.2 there, and my 2011 socket V3. VRMs look really well nice underneath there. Just an incredible looking board. We're going to get it out of the box here and get to putting it into the case, which already has the standoffs inserted, so I don't even have to do that. Just set and go. So we're going to start building this up, putting stuff on it, and then we'll insert it to the case. Well, welcome back. This is the next section where we're setting up our Thermaltake, or Thermaltake, however you pronounce it, 360 millimeter radiator so its CPU pump can fit to the board. Now, depending on whether you're AMD or Intel, you get a bunch of extra pieces. These are all the extra pieces. You get a back plate for Intel board. As you know, I'm not using it. We'll get to that in a second. You get a front plate or a back plate for AMD boards, or AMD processors and sockets. You get this locking collar. That's for the top side of the pump. See, the inside's the same diameter, but it's shaped for that other narrow band. Don't need them. This MSI board has standoffs already installed right here, 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 and here, that this subassembly mounts to, and this is what holds the CPU pump from the radiator to the CPU, which, as you can see, is not installed yet. And to get to this point, I had to basically assemble each one of these corners. There was 2 plastic bits, top part and a bottom part, and that was a little bit confusing in the instruction, but I finally figured it out. And then you have these lugs. There's 2 different sizes. These are the ones with the fat tip, and just by chance or by design and good engineering, they fit these standoffs just perfectly. So yeah, I didn't even have to mount this plastic back plate because on the back side of this MSI board, they've already got a plate installed. Isn't that lovely? I just think that's just great. This is a great board so far. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is unbox my processor. I took it out of the main case. In Intel, I don't know, this is their shock mounting to keep shock and vibrations from the processor during shipping. It's cardboard. It acts as a spring in the load. And this is the processor in its little plastic case. What I love about this is on the downside, there is no pins. The pins or contacts are on the socket. I love this design. No more bent pins. If you've ever bent a pin on a spendy processor like I've done, it had to have one overnighted, which costs even more. Yeah, that was an expensive mistake. Bill Ars, if you're watching, I still have that processor for you if you want to try to unbend the pins. But it wasn't this one, it was my previous build. It's old, but it's never been used. It's an AMD 8350, but I'm done with AMD. We're getting ready to unbox this and stick it on the motherboard. With ceramic 2 thermal paste. Where'd you go? I know it's a great television, huh? Right here. Get the logo up there. This is what I use. I swear by it. Some people say you can even use peanut butter, but I'll spend the $7 on a tube of this every time. Alright, the processor is in my 6850K. Now, I've never worked with an LGA 2011 V3 socket, so it was interesting. It was very interesting. And there is only one way the processor will go in there properly. Do not force it. Do not try to make it fit by shaving things. Just turn it the right way, and you will know when it falls down into the socket. Got a RAM installed. This is a 64 gigabyte kit of Corsair Platinum Dominator RAM. We got a processor installed, which is an Intel i7 6850. And as you can see, we started with slot 1, skipped 1, slot 3, skipped 4, skipped 5, moved into 6, then moved into 8. This is a quad channel configuration, so that we've got 64 gigabytes, not running in single channel mode, not running in dual channel mode, but quad channel mode, which means 4 times the speed to get the fastest speed out of your RAM. Now, if I wanted to do 128 gigabytes of this RAM, or any RAM, and do quad channel, I have to buy all 8 gigabytes of all 8 DIMMs at once. If you mix and match, it just will fail on you from all accounts. So I decided that if I'm going to spend the money on some good RAM, I'm going to go with the 64 gigabytes and speed up with some SSDs for storage, fastest processor, and the fastest graphics card. It'll save me probably about $600 getting 64 gig kit over the 128. But boy, I was tempted. It really was. But that really would have just been for bragging rights. This will serve me just fine. And the other thing I found out with DDR4 RAM is that there is only one ear on each end, just on this outboard end. DDR2 or DDR3 will have another ear at this end. The DDR4 only has one ear. And these RAM slots have the channel of the memory going in one way because of where the knockout is, versus these are flipped 180 degrees. So you can see they're a mirror image of each other, and that is a true quad channel setup on this MSI X99A Godlike motherboard with the 6850 processor. And we're just about ready to put this into the chassis. I've got my CPU cooler. We're locking down the Thermaltake CPU cooler pump, which was kind of a trick to get the collar and its locking ring all together properly, but it was worth it. We've got it stretched so that it's not going to interfere with our fan that's going to go back here for a graphics card. Alright, we've got most of our major components in. We've got our radiators from day one. We've got our radiator and fan from today that connects to the GPU. Down here, the Seahawk 1070 card. This is a bad. We've got our CPU pump there that goes to these radiators up here. And as you see, very little cables and wires. We've got one wire in here, right here, from the pump. It's under the sysband header. And we got the other wire here. So we have one out and then coming back in. Just get rid of some of the cable. It runs all the fans up here for the radiator. So at this configuration with the GPU being water cooled, and it also has a lovely blower fan there too. 140 millimeter fan down there. There's a 200 millimeter lighted red fan for the side panel that is not attached. The case panel is not attached. And then back here, like I said, we got another 200 millimeter. Those three 120 or 140s. And then up on top, underneath, there's two 200 millimeter fans. Count them all together. That's 5 up top, 6, 7, 8 on the side, 9 in the front. That's 9 fans. Plus, the power supply has a fan that, if the temperatures in the load are not exceeding a certain temperature range, this fan won't spin, so it keeps the power supply much quieter. That and the fact that this case has nice little standoffs with rubber feet to isolate any noise and vibration. This is a really well built case. And I mean, it was so easy putting this together with my lovely wife, Michelle. And this is the major components. We've got our M.2 secured. Note to the guys at MSI, if you're watching this, that little goofy screw, it needs to have a little piece of post-it note or something attached to it on the motherboard that says unscrew the little hat that's the screw inside the screw. We spent a half an hour figuring it out. Why won't this fit? Until we were trying to take off the washer and realized that the top half unscrewed from the bottom half. Yeah, that would have been nice to have a little notification. Maybe it's in your manual, but we haven't even touched the manual yet. We've got a sled already set up in here with my other solid state drive. You can see it in there. Alright, we're going to move on and start cabling up and powering up. The next time you see this, should be us closing up the case and getting ready to power on. This is the insides of the Skull Trooper. Again, there's why it's called Skull Trooper.